Hey everybody, welcome to our new unit impressions and unit analysis, and generally should you pull for the upcoming Summer Part 2 banner for 2018 in Fire Emblem Heroes. I think that we are generally going to be far more impressed with the results of these units than we were from the previous units that came out in June rather than July. So look forward to some pretty good excitement and some good advice for you going forward on whether you need these units or not and what you can consider with the current units in the game. So let's get started. Let's give my impressions on these units from a personal opinion standpoint and what the skills could mean on other units. Let's go. Get ready for the beach. Special heroes to battle. Summer rays.
This is a nice swimsuit, but am I here to swim?
Okay, so here's Linde, as you guys noticed from yesterday's silhouettes from when this video is uploaded. I mean, Linde and Camilla were guests, and I totally believed it, so of course Linde and Camilla are here, as we'll see later. What's interesting here is that this is our first Dagger Cavalry unit, and of course seasonals always get all these unique movement types before everything else, just like Flyer Mages before it, and Armor Mages, and all that other cool stuff. However, I don't think that that movement type is that crazy. Daggers in general, if you look at infantry daggers, are nothing too special. I think the only standouts there are pretty much Soth and maybe Felicia because of her plate. So yeah, Dagger Cavalry is whatever. It's pretty much like using a bow cavalry unit, and most people have Braveland, so that movement type isn't too great, but at least it has some utility should the meta change where some debuffs happen, and maybe you can combine it with something like a wind sweep, a water sweep to truly take advantage of the debuffs that a dagger provides. But unfortunately that movement type is not something that's super crazy. Okay, so she comes with a totally new weapon type, as you'll see through the other summer units that come by, and Brazen Attack Res, which is also brand new. Unfortunately, I don't actually think Brazen Attack Res is that amazing. Brazen Attack Defense generally is better because you run into more units that do physical damage, and Res means that she's going to do well against mages, I guess, or if she's running close counter or something wonky like that, against dragons who happen to hit her Res, but generally they won't hit their Res because they have adaptive damage. So yeah, Brazen Attack Res, not that great. Now, Starfish, on the other hand, I kind of like this weapon a lot. It's a shame, she will generally use that weapon quite well herself and won't need to really inherit it, but there are other dagger users that will use that dagger really well as well, and some that come to mind right away are going to be Gaius and Legault. Definitely inheriting those daggers to those units will be really good because it's desperation. It's desperation on a weapon. We don't have that. Desperation 3 on a weapon is great. So that saves a B skill for those units, and they can use different types of skills in the B for utility. They could use things like Guard, which can just deny some cooldown charge, and that's one of the weaknesses that dagger units had, where they don't do enough damage and they just, chip down some damage. You could use something like Escape Route or Wings of Mercy in the B slot, combining it with these new weapons. So I think this is a very good weapon for some of those older dagger units that could really appreciate it. So you need to put it on a high speed unit to generally take advantage of that. So yeah, definitely a great new weapon type. Definitely a lot better than the other summer unit weapons, which had like +2 to all stats on initiation, which weren't like terrible, but they weren't that great. I think these are much better, especially for desperation, freeing up a B slot. Who cares about Cancel Affinity or Ardent Sacrifice? I mean, nobody's gonna pull her for that. Beachside Scion. We already had a Summer Tiki. Did we really need another Summer Tiki? I don't know. This is obviously the big bait of the banner, and not only because of the fact that she's the more popular Tiki of the two, but also because she has amazing skills and stats, as we'll find out later in the video. So yeah, Red Flying Mage. That means that she is in her own class and has no competition at all. So without even looking, I mean, compared to Linde, which you could compare to like a bow cavalry unit, which, they kind of do the same thing, but this is its own class. The only real comparable thing would be like female Grima or Myr. But unfortunately, since they have different colors and different roles on the team, you can't really compare it in that way. So yeah, this is going to be definitely a lot of things to consider when we talk about Young Tiki as a flying unit. So let's move forward. You know what's truly the hypest thing about these new scales? Okay guys, Dragon Valor 3. For those of you guys that really don't like playing this game, congrats, you just got your Dragon Valor. I'm just kidding. Okay, who cares about Dragon Valor? We're not here to talk about Dragon Valor. I hope nobody pulls and sacks this off to another dragon. That'd be just disappointing. All right, so Summer's Breath here from this video's recording actually doesn't say that it does adaptive damage like the other breaths do, but it actually does. That was a bug in this video display. It has been updated in the notifications, and it will do adaptive damage like the rest of the breaths do. Adaptive damage is where the breath hits either defense or res of a 2-range attacker. So dagger user, bow users, generally they all attack from 2 range. That means if Tiki attacks them, she's going to hit the lower defensive stat. So that's just not showing on the text here, but it does actually do that damage, which makes this extremely ridiculous. As you can see already, it has effective damage against dragons, another red unit with effective damage against dragons. However, it also has 3 defense granted for free and a breath ability, a steady breath ability. It doesn't give you the extra defense of steady breath, but it does give you 3 defense on both phases. So technically it is steady breath, but -1 defense. And it does work the same way. If something attacks you on enemy phase, you gain cooldown charge a lot faster. That makes her breath absolutely bonkers, frees up the A skill, and you can use a combination like distant counter with Summer's Breath, and you're basically getting distant counter steady breath on one weapon, plus you have weapon effectiveness, plus you have extra stats. It's ridiculous. This weapon is extremely good, and we'll talk about it later why it's extremely good, but holy, I can't believe this is on a seasonal unit. Wow. Hit and run, attack, defense, bond, just whatever, but they're pretty good budget skills, I'd say. She has the stat spread to be a player phase unit, even though her breath weapon is encouraged that she gets attacked on enemy phase, and distant counter is also an enemy phase skill, but we'll talk about it once we get to it later in the video for unit analysis. This unit is extremely crazy. I can't believe this is on a seasonal unit. Holy, it's definitely going to be meta defining as well should people pull this, which I probably will tell you preface. Yeah, you probably should pull if you want a meta defining unit, but of course we'll talk more about why you shouldn't pull on day 1, but yeah, I mean generally this is the unit to chase after. Wow.
It's getting hot now.
Finding Nemo breath. Prince at play.
This swimsuit is custom made.
Who asked for this? I see this and he's like, Takumi already has a seasonal outfit. Why wasn't this like Honoka or Ryoma? I thought Ryoma was more popular than Takumi. I guess I was wrong. I'm pretty sure they're both very popular. Also, I look at this bow and I'm reminded of Titus from FF10. And why is Takumi so happy? Honestly, he has like no abs. This is a disappointment, man. This is not female fan service. This is a disappointment. Beyond that, he is a flying archer, which makes him the 2nd flying archer available compared to Honoka, which is warrior princess. That's her weapon, wings of fate, whatever. The Honoka that flies on a birdie chicken and shoots a bow, right? Okay, but the weapon again is very interesting. As we talked about with Linde, fishery bow will be inheritable, and this means it'll be really good on fast archers, which some of them can use pretty creative builds. Again, I'm going to show you these creative builds later during our unit analysis. You can skip ahead if you need to, but definitely some really cool stuff here. He's also the first unit to come with odd res wave. Whatever. Odd attack wave and odd speed wave are cool, and I think odd defense wave will be good, but generally odd res wave is whatever. So yeah, flying archer, unfortunately since he's seasonal locked, I'm going to actually recommend in most cases that Honoka will outperform him, and Honoka actually has a legendary weapon, the preference weapon, which being warrior princess and effective against armors, will make her better in my opinion. His stat spread is comparable though and quite competitive, but the fact that Honoka can do almost the same builds with minor stat adjustments, and the fact she has the option of using her preference weapon means that Honoka will outperform her, but again, we'll look at the comparisons later for that. It's the only thing I can really compare him to. I mean, colorless flying dagger, I guess you could compare him to Spring Kagero too, but these are all like pretty limited 5-star exclusive seasonals. Already, is that the only thing that's stunning, Camilla? Sorry, just as we've talked about these units so far, you'll see that there's not that many, like all these units kind of have 5-star exclusives to compare to so far. There's nothing like Oscar like Cordelia from my previous video. I mean, Honoka and Spring Kagero, right? Those are the only unit types and movement types that are comparable to like Takumi. And with Linde, it's pretty much like Bravelyn and L.A. Roy, right? I mean, a colorless cavalry unit, unless you're counting healers, but they hit a different defense type. Res, right? So yeah, these units are already a step above what the previous summer units were. Wow. So, Blue Flying Mage. Out of all the units, up until this one, they were all super impressive, but unfortunately, this is also the big bait of the banner for 2 big reasons. And I'm not talking about her glorious dress and hair. So, it comes with pretty good fodder though. At least you have Flyer Formation. Flyer Formation's great on a mage. Hone Flyers. Of course, this is only locked to 5-star units forever. Apparently, we'll never get this unit this ability more available. Juicy Wave. Juicy Wave. I want to talk about this a little bit. And out of the other weapons which are compared to, which was the bow and the dagger, I want to mention that the reason that Juicy Wave will actually be the most underwhelming of the weapons that come out is because anybody that wants to use Juicy Wave generally just wants to use a Blade Tome instead. So I can't find a current reason why Juicy Wave would be good. If you think you can find a good reason for Juicy Wave to be good, please let me know in the comments below, or just let me know in general, because I can't find a reason why I would use Juicy Wave over literally just Fury, Desperation, Bloodblade, because anyone that wants to use that is going to use that. And that's what makes difference from the bow users and the dagger users. Those units don't have blade equivalent weapons, so Juicy Wave is like, why would we use this when you can just one-shot everything, right? Okay. Find me a reason why this is good, but yeah, I don't see Camilla actually bring anything new to the table. Her movement weapon type is not that great. I mean, we already have Female Morgan in the 5-star exclusive pool, and we have Summer Corn, which most people probably already have. In fact, Summer Corn is available right now on the banner. So yeah, comparable stats with the other two. If you have a plus speed Female Morgan, that's, again, I'm not too impressed with this movement type. It's clearly a big bait for big reasons. Moving on.
Tropical attack.
Whoa, it's raining oranges and pineapples. Okay, so it lasts a month. What does that mean? Yeah, these units are pretty good. I think the only one not really worth pulling is going to be Camilla. We'll talk about the mathematics behind it, and I still have to do some unit analysis here, but generally, these units are very good in some way or another, especially if you don't have a comparable unit already in your roster. So yeah, seasonal units definitely have some merit here. I think the only standout must pull will be Summer Young Tiki. Linde and Takumi are still fairly unique and don't have budget equivalents, and Camilla, I figure most people should have Summer Corn or Female Morgan by now, and honestly you should just target like Female Morgan over Camilla just for the fact that Female Morgan is in the permanent pool, just like Honoka is in the permanent pool for Takumi. But the weapons are what really stand out here for those that are inheritable other than Juicy Wave. Anyways, let's move on to the second phase. We're going to talk about unit analysis now. So Linde shows up first. Oh, look at that. Our first comparison, Linde and Lin. What do we see here? I mentioned this already during my impressions, but yeah, there is unfortunately not too good of a reason to be using Linde when Brave Lin is already a thing. I mean, we're comparing stats here, but Lin has 33, 36, for those who don't know. It's very comparable stat spreads. Lin also has boosted stat totals. This means that Linde generally is more tankier than Linde, and the only thing that Linde actually provides is just different dagger options than Linde, which would be like the weapon she comes with, which has Desperation, which again, you have to really change that out if you want to combine it with like Wind Sweep or Water Sweep to keep her safe, because Linde has Sakei's Blessing, so that already puts her a step ahead of Linde because she can double, and Linde has to use something like Wind Sweep and then not double, but then she has to replace her dagger, then she gets debuffs or something. Well, the thing is, Linde already comes with Attack Smoke, and you can just give her Speed Smoke. So you're crippling the worst two stats of the enemy team already, and the only thing you're really doing with Linde is kind of setting up other units, which is what daggers kind of do, and that's why they're not so good, because you can just go for one-shots or overwhelm units with extreme power. And yeah, Linde doesn't have the bulk to be taking any hits without like wind sweep or water. She could probably take like a magical hit without needing water sweep, but again, since dragons do hit adaptive damage hitting the defense stat, it just makes Linde not too great, and Linde over there is going to be just straight up better. This makes Linde totally underwhelming to pull as a base unit. She has less stats than Linde, and unfortunately most people have Brave Linde. Now if you don't have Brave Linde, then Linde has some merit. Unfortunately there's not much more comparisons to that. The only other unit that you can really compare Linde to would be LA Roy, but in a different way. Again, it's just what kind of damage they do, which is physical damage on colorless. So again, this isn't like comparing Oscar to Cordelia, Oscar being in a 3-star pool. At least we're comparing to a 5-star unit that if you didn't choose it in the beginning as a new player, then yeah, I mean, Linde is a great character and usually recommended for people to pull. So moving on, I'm sorry, Linde. Linde's just kind of gonna do your job in most ways. Okay, there is absolutely nothing I can compare Summer Young Tiki to, because she is actually unique. And that means that she is the most pull of this banner, because there is nothing in your barracks that is comparable to this. One mistake I did have here, just to point you guys out to this, is 32 defense should actually be 35 because her weapon gives her 3 defense. So that's just a little bit of an issue here. I'm sorry for you guys that might get confused by that, but I just wanted to show you guys 32. Also, yeah, it's not 33 attack, it should be 49. So I messed up a little bit of the numbers here. Other than that, we're good. So look at this with 49 attack and 35 defense as a reference point for what we're about to discuss. But this is why Summer Young Tiki is so powerful, because she can work on mixed phases. I don't want to compare to something like Female Grima, because Female Grima generally uses a distant counter weapon, doesn't have effectiveness against dragons, and colorless units don't have a real weakness, but they don't have a strength either. So they're not really comparable, and expiration also makes it so Summer Young Tiki, like F Grima doesn't have a flying weakness through bows or Excalibur, and Summer Young Tiki would. Of course, there is going to be so many alternative options to this build that I posted here. You could run things like Ignis if you had Legendary Hector on the team. You could be running Io Shield in the seal. If you don't have Distant Counter, even her default skill Attack Defense Bond is going to be great, especially combined with the Summer's Breath effect. The reason I put Wind Sweep, again, it's not such an easy skill to acquire. You could be using things like Desperation to make mixed phase. You could be running Quick Riposte if you think you're afraid of getting hit, even Guard. She is so flexible in builds already, but this is going to be one of the most terrifying builds that we can have. 37 base speed is insane, because you can buff that up so many ways. She's a flyer, she can be on mixed team comps. Speed Tactic brings up to 43. If you run her with like flyers, that's Hone Flyers she can take advantage of. She's a dragon, she can take advantage of Hone Dragons. So 43 speed is super easy to achieve. Even if you don't have that, Hone Speed brings up to 41. So that's really good already. Now Merges brings it even higher than that, up to like 47. If you get a plus speed IV, that's 50 speed just from one buff. And yeah, it's crazy, guys. It's actually insane how much speed you get. So Wind Sweep is going to be insanely good on her, because that means that you can essentially just slaughter the enemy team on player phase and then still be really good on the enemy phase, because you have a breath on your weapon, which here you have Bonfire, but generally you could use Ignis. And with Bonfire, it's just insane what sort of things you can do here. I think even Ignis might be a little bit better, but I like Bonfire for the player phase capabilities, because you'll attack, they won't counterattack, you don't double, Bonfire is down to 2 charge, and then on enemy phase they hit you, Bonfire gets to ready, and you just counterattack with the Bonfire right away. So that's why I chose to choose Bonfire over Ignis, but you would use Ignis on like an enemy phase build. Even Aether is pretty good as well. So insanely great character. I'm gonna be shocked when you have to deal with this. What makes Summer Young Tiki so impressive though is there's not that many counters on enemy phase. You have to player phase her, and if player phase her is still really difficult. She has extremely good defense. If she's running Io Shield, bows don't even work. You give her, if an enemy is using distant counter, she has adaptive damage and a breath on her weapon, so she's gonna slaughter you. Falchion users could get outsped, so Wind Sweep is going to be super effective on your Falchion user. Falchion user can't even enemy phase, and your Falchion user might actually miss kills on player phase should it be running a build like this with close defense, because with close defense, she reaches effectively 71 bulk. Now add in merges, and it reaches about 79 bulk. So some of the lower attack Falchion users, like Marth, might actually miss the kill. Now, Chrom probably won't have issues with this on player phase. Lucina, I think Lucina could actually effectively enemy phase her. That's going to be one of the few characters that generally should work well on enemy phase, because Lucina, just on base stats, has 40 speed, including Bond Falchions. If you refine with Bond Falchions, her base speed is 36, so she reaches 40 speed, which does outspeed Young Tiki, Summer Young Tiki, so generally she should be able to take care of Summer Young Tiki on the enemy phase. However, Chrom's going to struggle with this, Marth's going to definitely struggle with this, Alm will do really well on player phase, but he's not going to do well on enemy phase, unfortunately. So it's definitely scary. Adult Tiki will get slaughtered, Noe will get slaughtered too. I mean, Noe's not going to be able to retaliate and kill. Noe will get doubled and die because of the effective damage. It's mind-blowing. What you have to do to beat Summer Young Tiki is a close counter blue mage with mixed bulk. Odin meta has come.
Power overflowing!
But close counter is not budget. So this is what I'm saying, guys. Your best counter to Summer Young Tiki is actually going to be Blarblade users on player phase. But that's a risky playstyle without having repositions or drawbacks. So on your first match, if you're forced to use double rallies, you're going to probably get wrecked a lot of times. And if you have to enemy phase, you're generally not going to have a counter to that. But yeah, close counter, blue mages will take care of an enemy phase. And I think Lucina is going to be the standout should you run into Wind Sweep Tiki builds. Of course, if they don't have IO Shield or they don't run the Wind Sweep, it'll be a lot easier to handle them, but this is going to be one of those super oppressive builds. Tiki is wow. Moving on, we have the closest comparison to Takumi, which will be Honoka. Honoka is currently on a banner, and Honoka is in the permanent pool. What makes Honoka stand out compared to Takumi is the fact that she actually comes with Warrior Princess. And Warrior Princess gives her more build options than Takumi does. Now, I've chosen a plus attack minus HP Honoka here. And a plus attack is chosen because Warrior Princess scales off effective damage. Death Blow, of course, is also used to scale even further off Warrior Princess. You can get that really nasty one-shot. Hone Flyers, if you're using her on a flyer team, or Speed Tactic on a mixed team, will bump her up to 47 speed, which will secure doubles in most cases against most units, so you don't really need to run stuff like Swift Sparrow, but you could. This is generally more budget. I didn't want to really put like Swift Sparrow on here. So yeah, Honoka, because she has Warrior Princess, what makes her truly stand out compared to Takumi, she's also in the permanent pool, and Takumi's not. Therefore, Takumi's kind of underwhelming. His stat spread is a little bit more optimized than Honoka. Honoka, unfortunately, only has 32 attack versus Takumi's 35. So that means that he's slightly more optimized, but because of the flexibility and higher availability of Honoka, this means that Honoka is generally the chase after unit and Takumi is underwhelming. He also doesn't have as much abs as Summer Xander. Now, I did want to mention, we talked about the weapons themselves, which is the fishy bow and that dagger that Linde had earlier. I want to actually show you something creative, which I thought of because of Desperation being on a weapon. It opens up the B slot to more creative stuff, and that's going to be this, okay? So, yeah, okay, so if you pull Takumi, then you probably should consider something cool like this. You can create way more creative stuff than this, but I wanted to put it together for you guys here. So, you put it on high speed units like Setsuna. Setsuna's a 3-star unit, and I'm not comparing Takumi to Setsuna here. I think they're fairly comparable, but the fact is the more speed you have, the easier it is to use that Desperation bow. So Setsuna ends up with 37 speed. This is just pretty standard Setsuna, nothing too special. But the fact that you open up the B skill means that you can teleport around with Escape Route, Fury, Speed Refined Fishy Bow, and Savage Blow things. You can kind of get like a teleporting archer that's able to effectively attack twice. Luna helps her with her low attack stat. But the thing is, comparing Takumi to Setsuna here, you can actually work on the merges of Setsuna and make like a really cool ultimate archer that way using this unique bow. So I'm bringing in Sasuna again, just like I did in the last time we had an archer shown, but I do really like something creative like this that opens up your desperation for some of these squishier archers. You can do something like this as well with Linde's dagger, so you could just give Gaius the escape route and B, savage blow again, or double savage blow. And it's essentially the same kind of build. The reason I put it on Setsuna is because she just has slightly better mix bulk. So yeah, something creative out of there. Fury knocks you into escape route, Fury knocks you into fishy bow range, and you can kind of just ting a bunch of stuff. Okay, finally, we have the biggest 2 reasons why you shouldn't pull for Camilla. Camilla does have the most optimized stat spreads. They have to give you a reason to pull for it. And yeah, she definitely has the most speed out of all the current blue flying mages. She has essentially out-creeped Summer Corn, if you can call it that. But the thing I'm going to say about Summer Camilla is that she is being released at a time where most people by now, unless you're a new player, should already have female Morgan or Summer Corn. If you've missed out on either, I mean, you kind of missed out. Blue flying mages are very good. They cover most of the meta and they do very well. Now what I've depicted here is a plus speed minus HP Morgan. You could obviously get away with something like plus speed minus defense or plus speed minus res. Both are fine. But if you pull it, you see that the stat spread becomes far more comparable. With the Hone Flyers on Morgan, you're basically reaching 45 speed. Of course, Camilla is going to outspeed her because Morgan has 30 versus 36. But if you account for merges, then Morgan reaches very comparable stat spread. But again, like I said, most of these units are being compared to 5-star exclusive units, but the difference is Morgan is someone you could work on for merges. You can be targeting female Morgan banners and adding merges and making your unit stronger and stronger all the time. So if you don't already have a blue flying mage, yeah, Camilla's really good and going to be best in class at 0 merges. But the fact that she's seasonal exclusive means that female Morgan is generally the better long-term project. Also, female Morgan has really high res, so she has a little bit more build options. You can use her as an enemy phase res tank flyer. So, sorry Camilla, but I just kind of prefer those that you can actually add merges to over time and you don't have to spend thousands of orbs. Nonetheless, enjoy your drink. Finally, the math. The math behind these units. Now, for those of you that don't know, we have 2 colorless units. We have Takumi and Linde. This means, and I really need to emphasize the myth behind this, is that units that share focus do not reduce your chances of getting that unit in the pool, okay? The fact that Linde and Takumi are sharing focus color does not mean that you have less of a chance of getting either Linde or Takumi. What happens is that you will pull either of them within a reduced amount of orbs. Yes, there is it's less than 0.5% that a pity rate would have affected your chance of pulling either Linde or Takumi, but that is about 1,000 orbs. So unless you go into colorless with 1,000 orbs, that is when you'll see one or the other unit one more copy. Yeah. Okay, so definitely don't be worried that you see units with 2 focus. That is mathematically, that doesn't matter that they share. In fact, you just pull both and that's great. You get more 5-star exclusives that way. The thing that's truly affecting you here is the fact that there's 4 focus units on this banner instead of 3. That means you have to generally spend more orbs than you wouldn't be. So as you can see here, we'll go over it a little bit if you don't understand the mathematics behind it. Specific colorless means if you're strictly targeting Takumi or Linde, 166 orbs is in general what you'll have to spend to pull either of them. Now keep in mind, we do receive about 300 orbs per month on average, give or take a little bit, and this means that it is very important that you're very strategic in who you do intend to summon for. You know, if you don't specifically target these units intelligently, then you might get disappointed trying to pull for everything, or you might have to open your wallet, and that's not something I could recommend. This is why I suggest not pulling on the first day of a banner, so you can wait until you accumulate as much monthly orbs as possible, and then you can make an intelligent, educated decision by the end of a banner to say, hey, you know, this banner is available, this banner is available, now what should I do, and where should I allocate my orbs to target exactly what I want or need, depending on what your playstyle is. So don't pull day 1, and definitely, you know, review this video if you need to later to understand the mathematics and should you be meeting the averages. Median means that 1 in 2 people do spend about 120 orbs. 50% of people spend about 120 orbs to get either Linde or Takumi. Not either Linde or Takumi, either. You'd be specifically targeting one. And 90th percentile. This means 1 in 10 people have to spend 372 orbs to get Linde or Takumi. That is more than our monthly allowance. That means 1 in 10 people have to open their wallet to target one of these 2 units. That is... ugh. Hurts me, man. Especially since Takumi and Linde aren't like too special, like you probably don't be spending that many orbs. Now, it gets a lot better if you don't care which one you get, if you don't care whether you get Linde or Takumi, just like the logic behind the legendary banners. It's only 83 orbs on average to pull either one. One of them will show up by then. And 182 orbs is the 1 in 10 people that have to spend to get either one. It's still kind of bad to be spending 182 orbs without a single 5-star focus, but at least it's not as bad. The reason these numbers are so high is because it's a 4-star focus unit banner, so it reduces the chance of them showing up because they're sharing with so many different focuses. And the other one is the saturated pool of colors. Yeah, colors is very saturated, so that's why it ends up being so many orbs, as we compare later to Camilla, which is slightly less. Okay. So, cost to pull Camilla, this is more specific. You'll notice that it's not so bad. It's still kind of bad if you're 1 in 10 people. I mean, if there's 2,000 of you that watch this video, that means that 200 of you will spend 279 orbs to target Camilla. That's almost our monthly allowance. Most of you, though, will spend about 126 orbs, and the median is 94 orbs. So 1 in 2 of you, every second person should spend about 94 orbs to get a Camilla. Some of you that are extremely good at the variants will pull 1 in 33 of you will pull a free Camilla. Now that's not that common, so definitely consider yourself one of the oddities to get it. Again, for Tiki, this is going to actually be the hardest to pull because the red pool is super saturated. Yeah, 138 orbs on average and 36 orbs for 1 in 10 people. That's insane. That's our whole monthly allowance on that. But if you were to target one person on this banner, it would definitely be Summer Young Tiki. So definitely think about that. Now, what I want to sum this up by saying is, you know, this is a much better summer banner than before. We've had so many good banners back to back lately. We've had the legendary banner with legendary Hector. We even had the first summer banner, which had a lot of waifus, even husbando, if you want to call that, on there. We had such good special banners of new units. We had the Zelgius, Harden. We've had, Sigurd was there as well. Like super popular characters just kept coming back to back. We have Fallen Celica, Mia, Honoka. These are all units that we've seen recently in these banners. So something big is definitely coming, and if you really want to make a smart decision, I don't recommend summoning on day 1. Definitely hold your orbs, because if anything, Choose Your Legends 2 is right around the corner, and this is a good way for them to totally take away all our orbs before they release something big. Even the next legendary banners or so that are coming up by the end of this month, next month, should be still very high quality, because all we're getting now is pretty much very high quality units. So wait until then. If you do happen to spend money or spend your orbs, feel free to let me know in the YouTube comments what you did get. And if you're looking forward to trying some unique builds, I definitely want to hear some discussion on that, on what you plan to do with the weapons maybe, or the units themselves. So, thanks for checking out the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.